I have rarely seen Ed Reed talk. No, for real, like.
Yeah. So I think that they are concerned. But I think they should be happy. So I think HBCU loyalists should be happy with this trend. So staying with the college theme for today, Ed Reed will be named Bethune-Cookman's next head coach.
Yes,
This
sir.
is big news because Bethune-Cookman is an HBCU, and many HBCU loyalists are hoping that his impact will be similar to that of the one and only Deion Sanders. Sticks, I have multiple questions for this segment.
I got a few too.
I'm just going to start with, do you think Ed Reed can have the impact that Coach Deion Sanders did? I'm sorry, let me do that. Let me give his respect.
Come on, man, call him what he is, bro.
Do you think Coach Ed Reed, can have the same impact that Coach Deion Prom Sanders had at the HBCU level?
So that's one of the questions I had too. So I'm glad I can take that off my list. But it's not. Mine's a little bit different. But I think that with Ed Reed's knowledge of the game and Ed Reed's love for the kids, he will be able to rally those kids around him at Bethune-Cookman, and I think he'll be able to turn that university around. Because the last few years they haven't been good at all. This past year they were 2-9, so I think he better at least turn that around. But Coach Prom actually back in 2021, he actually put Ed Reed in the spotlight for one of these spots back in April 20, but last year, a year and a half ago. He was actually pointing out Ed Reed, and he was actually pointing out Ray Lewis, and said, guys that I know that are truly interested and they love the game and they love the kids, they could be phenomenal. It could be a phenomenal thing if they got head coaching positions. So I think Coach Prime put him in the spotlight to be primed to get one of these, no pun intended, but to be primed to get one of these head coaching positions, especially at the HBCU. But my question to you, which I think I know the answer to this question, what you're going to answer is, because he don't have much experience. So do you think it was because of his profile that he got this job, or was he actually worthy of being the head coach of this university?
So yeah, you already know what I'm gonna say. I feel like Hall of Fame football players absolutely deserve to be in this position, deserve to get these head coaching jobs. And no offense, but especially at HBCUs. We're talking about players that played at the highest level of football and played at the highest level. They had to play at the highest level in order to be considered to be a part of the Hall of Fame, which only a select few get entered into the Hall of Fame every year.
He was first balloted too. First
ballot.
First time trying.
I mean, Ed Reed was a baller. When we're talking about football. So I 100% believe he should be included, or people of his status deserve to be head coach of Bethune-Cookman. And I mean, it's not like he doesn't have any type of coaching experience. He was a assistant DB coach for the Buffalo Bills in 2016 or something like that. While he wasn't on the field at Miami the last 2 years, he was a part of their program as a director of a chief of staff. So he's been around the game. He's been around the game. He's been in these meetings with coaches, game planning every week. At Miami, he's probably recruiting. I mean, because he went to the University of Miami. So he's probably heavy in their recruiting process. So it's not like he doesn't know anything about being a college coach. It's just he hasn't had that head coach experience. And Deion Sanders, Coach Prom's, in his situation, he was a part of football in every aspect. Essentially, he was on the NFL Network. He coached his kids' little league. He created an academy. I forgot what it was called. Is it Prom Academy? He created where he was a head coach of that team, and they were successful. He had always had aspirations. If you listen to him talk, he initially didn't have aspirations of being a coach, but once he started coaching his kids, it kind of picked up steam, and he just fell in love with it.
He said that in his interview with Shannon Sharp.
Right. He said
Mhm,
he always wanted to impact kids' lives, but never thought about coaching until he actually started coaching. And
mhm.
I truly believe that's the same with Ed Reed. He may not have thought of coaching football, but he thought about impacting kids' life because,
Mhm.
you know, as we have seen the last couple years, maybe decade, like people underneath us, underneath our generation, well, our generation's kind of messed up too, but it seems like kids are going down a different path and they need a little bit more guidance than what we
I
needed
agree
originally.
100%.
And it might not, it may just be that the internet makes it more prevalent and it puts it more in our face than it was back in the day. But, you know, there definitely needs some type of guidance. And kids will really only listen to you if you have some type of status behind your name now. And
Mhm.
so, Ed Reed, Deion Sanders, Eddie George, those type of players, those, you know, caliber of professional athletes, they're going to command that respect just because of who they are.
Who they are, right.
Um, yeah. So I feel like yes, he deserves to be in that role. As far as his impact, and maybe I'll just try to answer, you know, rebuttal my
Yeah,
question that I asked to you. I
right.
think I definitely think he will have an impact at Bethune Cookman.
Mhm.
Um, I I don't know his personality enough to say if it will be the same as Deion Sanders at Jackson State, but I definitely think he'll have some type of impact. He'll command his program. He'll command respect from the players, and like you said, he'll probably drastically change that program around.
Mhm.
I just don't know if it'll permeate. I like the word permeate. I just don't know if it'll. I don't know if it'll go throughout all of HBCU, other HBCU schools as say a Deion Sanders presence did, just because like we said in two podcasts ago, Dion is the ultimate salesman. Like
Mhm.
he's gonna make sure that butts are in the seat. He did it when he was playing. He did it as we saw as a head coach at Jackson State. Um, Ed Reed was more so of a hard nosed, let's get this shit done type of player, and
Mhm.
I expect that to be who he is as a coach. But
Mhm.
we also said in that Dion podcast that we did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that Dion did leave the blueprint and somebody can do exactly what he did, but they don't need to try to be Dion. They need to try to
Right,
be himself. So
right.
if Ed Reed can take that blueprint that Dion left and mold it to who he is as a person and who he was as a player and do that with who he will be as a coach, I have no reason to not believe that he can do the same things that Dion did at Jackson State. I just don't think they'll be in the same grand grand gesture as Dion did at Jackson State.
I agree with you. And that was one of my other questions I was going to ask was, do you think he becomes one of those voices for HBCUs and the income resource disparity that Prime started? I think he can be. And like you said, it has to be in his own accord. He can't try to be as outspoken as Prime because like you said, Prime is a character within himself. He's going to be,
Hmm.
he has a distinct way of getting his point across and using words and using his personality to get what he needs. He has a distinct way of doing that. Like you said, I don't know Ed Reed's personality enough to know if he's going to be able to do that. But from knowing the type of player that Ed Reed was, like you said, being hard nosed, being a go get it, let's get it done, and work hard and win the game. He's gonna use that personality and use that to his advantage to be able to push Bethune Cookman over the top. Now, as far as the blueprint, I think that, and I think I said this whenever we were talking about Prime. We both agree that it doesn't have to be somebody like Prime, but I think it has to be somebody outspoken enough to get that attention, right?
Hmm.
I have rarely seen Ed Reed talk. No, like no,
Yeah.
like
So
for real, like
yeah.
he didn't do many interviews. When he did speak, it was
Yeah.
kind of, not necessarily monotone. He had energy in his voice, but it was like very short. Like I've rarely seen Ed Reed speak. So I'm excited to see how he commands his huddles and how he commands his team because he has to be outspoken as a head coach. But as far as the matter at hand, as far as bringing that attention and getting the resources and the money and the profits to the HBCUs, I don't know if he's the guy for that. But he can
So
still bring attention to it in his own way.
I don't know Ed Reed. I know a couple of close friends of mine that play with Ed Reed, so
Mm-hmm.
they know him better than I do, obviously. But with the little bit that I have seen of Ed Reed, he is outspoken. He's
Mm-hmm.
just not as outspoken as Dion. And
Not
so
as
in that
eccentric. Yeah, you're right.
right, and so in that aspect, I don't know if he is the guy that is going to talk for so in one of our podcasts when we were talking about Dion and his wanting the money to increase for HBCUs when they played PWIs in these money games. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if Ed Reed is that person that's going to be that type of outspoken. Now,
Got you.
if there's something that happens directly to him, I have no question that he's going to speak out about it and be strong with his stance. But to say, "Oh, well, I look at the money game that we played when we played Alabama, and we only got $400,000. And then I go look at uh, North Carolina Central, and they only got $400,000 to play Duke. And then I go look at, I don't think that's going to be him. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could be
yeah, yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
I hope I am because that's good for HBCUs, because then it is truly him stepping into that mold that Dion left behind and trying to impact change on HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that is him. I don't think he's that type of outspoken.
I don't think so either. I think, like you said, if it happens directly to him and his program, I think he'll be outspoken about it. And I think he'll be one of those guys who Prime was saying that need to come together as a collective and negotiate these numbers. I think he'll be one of those guys to stand up and say, okay, cool, let's negotiate this. I don't want to make 400,000. These guys, these dudes need to make 1 million, because when you look at the amount of money that you're getting to put into travel, housing, room and board, if they request the band got to be there. That's a lot of money that these universities are putting into it. And for you to spend 300,000 to get your football program and your band to go play Michigan as Bethune Cookman, if you spend 300,000, you're only getting 400,000 back. That's basically breaking even, and you're not really giving me nothing to come play this game. We come get beat
Right,
70-15. So
right.
instead of giving me 400K, give us 1.5, and we'll come and we
How'd
can
you
come beat
come up
you
with
all that.
70 to 15 though? That's an odd
I
number.
don't know.
Even
It was
15.
just, but most of the, they went for two. They went for two, but, they went for two and got it. It was at the end of the game. They went for two and got it. It was 70-7. They scored. They went for two, but but
Yeah,
now it
yeah.
was because most of these games with these Power Fives playing against
They
these
blowouts. Yeah,
HBCUs,
yeah, yeah.
they usually blowouts. So that was just a number I came off the top of my head. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
he'll be one of those that say, okay, Bethune Cookman needs more. I don't think he's going to be outspoken as Dion was for all HBCUs. But directly with Bethune Cookman, he's gonna be outspoken for sure. For sure, I think that for
Right,
sure,
right.
for sure.
Yeah. So my last question, because you pretty much asked the other question that I asked about
Oh, bet.
head coaches, Hall of Famers getting the nod because of their name or because of their resume. So we tackled that one. But
Yeah,
my last question is: should HBCU loyalists be concerned with this trend of coaching hires?
I honestly think if it does become a trend, say for instance, over the next 3 years, Coach Reed goes, just like Dion did, he goes 30-5, right, over the next three
Mhm,
years, and freaking Nebraska comes calling, and he
mhm,
leaves. I think a lot of the community, our community, will treat him just like they treated Prime. But to lead into another question that I had is Prime has Prime and this I'm gonna still answer your question, but this just leads into another question that I have for you. Is this the case of the Prime example, quote unquote, where Dion
mhm,
has set the precedent across the country with hiring black coaches? So I think it's going to be, if it does become a trend, I think a lot of the black community and black loyalties will eventually come to terms with the fact that Deion Sanders set an example. Now we see more of our people getting these head coaching positions, and we see more of our people getting promoted to higher universities. And
mhm.
I think over time, once this trend continues, and there's more of our people in these positions, and more of our people getting to the Colorados and the Nebraskas and the Miamis and stuff like that, I think it'll become something that's praised in opposed to look down upon. Yo, you at a HBCU, you're gonna leave for PWI. No, it's gonna be like, okay, the HBCU is gonna be the filter for our people to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's what I think is going to end up being as far as that trend. Now, initially, of course, Coach Prime took the brunt of it. He put that on his back. So now all the other guys who come in and go to HBCUs and go up and keep going up and keep going up, it's going to be okay. Coach Prime took that beating for us. Now we can move forward, and now all of our people will get on board with it. It'll be that train that keeps moving, and people will actually start praising it at some point. That's what I think is going to happen. But initially, Coach Prime took it. Ed Reed will take it over the next 3 years if he does decide to leave to go to a PWI. But the more it keeps happening, the more we keep seeing our people progress, I think it'll be fine eventually.
Yeah. So I think that they are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think they should be happy. So I think HBCU loyalists should be happy
100%.
with this trend, because what their concern is that these individuals, which we're talking about, Hall of Famers stepping into the head coaching role at HBCUs. Their concern is that they're just using this as a stepping stone.
Agreed.
Okay. It is completely a stepping stone. But
100%.
in their time at these HBCUs, one, just who they are will bring attention to HBCUs, as we saw with Coach Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Just their presence alone will bring better recruits to these HBCUs that they're involved with, just because
Mm-hmm.
who they are, as we saw with Coach Prime. Just because of who they are and what they have done in the past and the connections that they have made in the past, they will get outsiders that aren't HBCU loyalists. They will get them to come in and potentially use some of their resources to help improve the respective HBCUs that they're at. Now, after we released our podcast on Coach Prime, we saw that people commenting saying that he didn't, do all of that. The stuff was already in the works. Well, he helped finish it. How about that?
Right.
So the same
Exactly.
thing is going to happen with these others, because I'm assuming that other Hall of Famers or other high caliber football players that want to get into the coaching profession will also follow the same path of going to HBCUs. So they will help complete some of the things that haven't been completed as far as facilities at the respective universities, so on and so forth. So I think HBCU loyalists should be happy that this is going to happen. And I also think it's smart for the athletic directors of HBCUs to use this and I'll say it, to use Hall of Famers to bring more attention to HBCUs. They get to
Mm-hmm.
use the names of well-known football players as coaches for their respective
NIL.
schools to exactly
Yep.
NIL to gain that notoriety that you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it says to players that are maybe playing right now or were Hall of Famers, it says to them, we welcome you here. We welcome you to come back home to
Mm-hmm.
be a part of our program. And if you decide to leave at a later time, we don't care. We want you to be a part of who we are and to help bring awareness back to HBCUs, because, again, as we mentioned couple episodes ago, that in the 70s and early 80s, HBCUs was where all the players were.
Mm-hmm.
So you help bring that back, help us get back to those glory days that we had. And I'll just make this comparison because
Mm-hmm.
I went to a PWI
Mm-hmm.
and I also coached at a PWI. I was a graduate assistant. I wasn't an actual coach, but I was a graduate assistant. So I was in those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
If the HBCUs are in fact doing what I think they're doing, they could be compared to the MAC conference, which is the Mid Atlantic Conference. The MAC
Okay.
conference for so long was considered to be the breeding ground for the next great coach at the biggest university that you so if you wanted to be, if you were thought of as the next great coach, or if you were looking for the next great coach as an athletic director for these major universities, you're probably first going to the MAC conference to see what coach is running his program well and you know, what coach is winning.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have all of those coaches that we know or that are household names now, they made their ranks, or they did it in the MAC conference. And so the HBCUs could be that for black coaches,
Okay.
that, Dion could be that first pillar, and he could be that first pillar to set off everything else that happens with head coaches, black head coaches, Hall of Fame football players, getting into the HBCUs, using HBCUs as their first opportunity as a head coach, and then moving on to bigger and better things. And that's not to slight HBCUs.
I was just
So I
about to
don't
say
want it
that.
to,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't want it to seem that way, but there is a pecking order in everything that we do in life, and it just so happens that HBCUs right now are lower than some of the PWIs. For
Hmm.
instance, when Dion left Jackson State to go to Colorado, in the eyes of the athletic world and as far as the resources are concerned, that was a better opportunity for Deion Sanders. And it'll be many others that come into the HBCU head coaching ranks that will get better opportunities than where they currently would be in HBCUs. I mean,
I
that's just
agree.
how it is. It's not to slight them in any way.
Yeah, it's not slight in any capacity. I definitely feel like it's a good hire for Bethune Cookman. I think my next question is with what we know about Ed Reed. Does Bethune Cookman have the number one defense in the SWAC next year?
Mm, I think we'll have to look and see who he brings on,
Who he brings on?
because while Dion is a good coach, he does run his program similar to how Nick Saban does it, but he has a different type of
Mm-hmm.
swag than Nick Saban does.
100%.
He did immediately bring in players from the transfer portal
Mm-hmm.
that changed that program. So I think we'll have to see with Ed Reed at Bethune Cookman who he
Brings
gets to
in.
come to Bethune Cookman and what coaches he surrounds himself with.
That
And
was
from
gonna be my
there, I
next question
mean,
too.
yeah, from there, I think the sky is the limit. You're going to ask about Ray Lewis going with them?
Well, I was going to ask, what does his staff look like? Does he interview random guys, with experience, or does he
Hmm.
hire his homies like your Ray Lewis's of the world? Does he do that? You know what I'm saying? Because I know Ray Lewis has made mention that he wanted to coach eventually. So does
Yeah.
is this Ray Lewis's stepping stone as well to come with his boy Ed Reed?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have any issues with him hiring Ed Reed. I'm sorry, with him hiring Ray Lewis at Bethune
Hmm.
Cookman. Um, but like I said, he has had connections at other programs and in the NFL. So, and he's Ed Reed, so I'm sure he can pull
Hmm.
in these top notch coaches to be a part of that program. It's just all about, are certain individuals willing to take those opportunities, being that they might not get paid as much as they would had at a different school.
Right. And just to go back to that last question, bruh. If I had Ed Reed as my head coach and Ray Lewis as my defensive coordinator, ain't no what I would love to go play for that university. What?
Well,
Those
first off,
dudes,
you can get the best pregame
the
talk
best
every
pregame talk,
game
bro.
ever.
What? The best motivational talk ever for pregame, bro. What?
No,
Ray Lewis leading that joint? Come on, bro.
yep,
Like
yep.
there's gonna be a change if that happens. That there would be a change in the recruitment at Bethune Cookman because there are going to be more Travis Hunters in the world that's going to be going to
Hmm.
HBCUs because of the high profile name of Ed Reed and possibly Ray Lewis being at Bethune Cookman. Bro, what DB and linebacker would not want to go play for them?
Right. And
Come
that's the
on,
thing
man.
that HBCUs have to understand, that even if they are there for a short period of time, that quick flash in the pan that you can get
What?
with not
Yeah.
only games that you win, but ticket sales, with your memorabilia being sold, could be very impactful for many years to come. So yeah, they're leaving and we don't know what's going to happen, but we can only assume if he takes the same path that Deion Sanders took, that he'll probably be gone in 3 years, depending on how things go, or
Right.
4 years, whatever the case may be. They may leave your school, but for the time that they were there, the amount of notoriety, the amount of money that they brought in could be impactful for the next 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So
I think,
so I I,
yeah.
I agree with you. My final words on it is, I think this is an absolute great hire for
Hmm.
Bethune Cookman. I think Ed Reed will be a great coach for the what is their mascot? Tigers?
Panthers.
Panthers. For the Panthers. And I think he will have a similar impact as Deion Sanders. I don't think he cares to be in the same mode as Deion. Not saying that he doesn't like
Wildcats.
Deion, but
Sorry, Wildcats.
Wildcats. No disrespect to y'all. Um,
Facts.
uh, I don't think he has any. He doesn't care to be in the same mode as Dion. Again, I don't think he has any ill will towards Dion. I think they're best friends. Matter of fact,
They
he's one
really
of
are.
Dion's best friends. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but he wants to do things himself. But the natural question and the natural thought process of everybody outside of Ed Reed and Bethune Cookman is, can he do with what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State? And so only time will tell. But I think it's a great hire for them.
I think it is too, man. I agree with you in that vein, man. I think Ed Reed is going to make some strides at Bethune Cookman. I think he's going to have a really good program. I honestly think he's going to have one of the best defenses in the nation. That's just me, but
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they progress, and I'm looking forward to seeing the progression of Ed Reed's career as a coach, not just at Bethune Cookman, but beyond too. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Stakes, season
What?
one,
Season
episode
one
15.
in the books, baby. Yes, sir.
In the
Part of my wisdom,
books. In the
season
books,
one in the
man.
books, man.
Yeah, finish us out, bruh.
Hey, man, listen, man. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting from everybody, man. We are now up to 205 subscribers now, man. So we appreciate all 205 of y'all. The 90%, we need to get y'all on board, but we understand it's a marathon, not a sprint. So
Mhm.
we appreciate all the support over season one. It took us so long. It took us so long to actually get this thing off the ground, D-Lo, but we fucking did it, bro. And I'm fucking
We
proud of
did it.
us, man. I'm fucking proud of us that we did this, man. And season two, which is going to be just as fucking great. We're gonna make changes. We're gonna
It's to
come
be
back
better.
stronger, and we gonna
Yeah.
fucking do this shit, man. So we love
Why you
y'all.
gotta be cussing so much at the end every
I'm
time,
sorry,
man?
bro, because I be hyped, bro. Because I love this shit, bro. I be hyped, cuz like I don't think you understand, bro. Because this shit has been a long time coming, bro. It's been a long time
Yeah,
coming. We've been
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
this for 6 years, bro. And we
Right,
finally did
right.
it, dog. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just hyped. I'm proud of us, man. And I'm hyped for us, man, because me and you, the friendship that we have, the love that we have for each other, the brotherhood, man. This is something that I take a lot of pride in, man. And I can't wait for this to be my full-time job. But that's up to y'all, though, so y'all get this right. But yeah, man, I
100.
love it, man. What you think?
100.
Take us out, man. What you
Yeah.
got?
Yeah, I gotta mess with you, man, because every time towards the end you start to get
I
loose with
about
the
to get
lips.
loose
Pause.
with
But 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 nah, man, I think season one was very, very successful because, like you said, we talked about doing this for so long, put it off for whatever the reason was, but then ultimately decided to do it. And we made strides each week that we jumped on this microphone
for
and
sure.
had conversations with each other about whatever topic it was. And I think season two, like you said, will come back, hope will be just as great as we was this season, but even better. We'll make some tweaks and changes to try to figure out what's going to grab the attention of our subscribers and then grab more subscribers in. But we'll figure that out. And until that time comes, I think we'll continue to have these great conversations, take the insights that we have from life, from the experiences that we've had, and put them on the topics that we talk about. Because if you don't know, we talk about sports and entertainment, but we use that as a gateway to get into other aspects of what we deal with as a collective on a day in
Mm-hmm.
day out basis. So while we are looking at it through a sports and entertainment lens, we are talking about politics to a degree. We are talking about relationships to a degree. We are talking about money to a degree. We're talking about all of these different aspects. We're just looking at it through the lens of sports and entertainment. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll come back season two and we'll be even bigger and better.
Give us 1.5, and we'll come and we
How'd
will
you
come
come
beat
up
you
with
all at.
70 to 15 though? That's an odd
I
number.
don't know.
Even
It was
15.
just, but most of it.
Why you gotta be cussing so much at the end?
I'm sorry,
man.
bro, because I be hyped, bro. Because I love this shit, bro. I be hyped, cuz like I don't think you understand, bro. Because this shit has been a long time coming, bro. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for 6 years, bro, and we finally did it, dog. You know what I'm saying? So
I gotta mess with you, man, because every time towards the end you start to get loose with the lips, pause.